is that Sandy pitched against the Dodgers last night and had another bad start. This is a former Cy Young Award winner, the only one in Marlins history, coming off Tommy John, who was number one on everyone's list around the country as trade candidates at the deadline, where the Marlins would get a huge haul for moving Sandy Alcantara to a contending team. And I argued before the season started that starting pitching, you get your most value during the season, but a player coming back from Tommy John, you are at risk. You are at risk of lack of performance. You're at risk of another injury. You're at risk of rust. And when you've got $17 million guaranteed to Sandy next year, and then you've got a $21 million team option or a $2 million buyout, which means you've got $19 million of guaranteed money owed to Sandy, and you are a team that is resetting. Yes, I'm using the word. I could use rebuild. I could use retool, but that would be a tooly thing to do. It is irresponsible not to trade Sandy Alcantara. And what's happened now that he is 2-4, and those of you who say wins and losses don't matter, I would only tell you that you've never spoken to a baseball executive. But anyway, he's got an 8.4 ERA. My guess is after he gave up these 5 runs to the Dodgers yesterday and another Marlins loss, Coca, for qualified starters, and I would assume that he's qualified and that he's pitched 31 innings, and the Marlins record is what, Coca? If they played 31 games, my guess is they are 12. Oh, they could be 13-20. So that means he is not qualified because you have to pitch 1 inning per game played. Do you love? Say it again, Coca, please. 13-21. They played 34 games. He's only pitched 31 innings. He is not qualified in ERA. Amazing. If he were qualified, my guess is he'd have the worst ERA of any starter. What do you do? Well, if you're Peter Bendix and you're running the baseball operations for the Miami Marlins, you are not making any calls on Sandy. You're instead calling your owner, Bruce Sherman. And you're saying to Bruce, I understand your concern. I understand that we're losing money and that we're out of the race and that we're going to be sellers. I understand that he's our biggest asset, but he will still be our biggest asset. We may have to pay an extra $8 million this year because we don't trade him. We may have to pay the first half of him next year, but we believe in him as a player and performer, and we cannot afford to trade him at the low. This is when you get a business and a baseball at loggerheads. This is when your GM is telling you something, and as team president, you say, I hear you, but we got to save the money. Our budget doesn't allow to carry Sandy past July 1, because if we do, then we have to pay him the last 3 months of his salary, which is about $8.5 million more. We need that savings in order to cut our losses. We were willing to ride it out if we were competitive, but we're not. We're 13-21, trending obviously the wrong direction after a very nice start. Which reminds me, side note, Coca, do you remember when I told all of you after April, all of you so excited when 10 games were being played and the Angels were 7-3 and the Marlins were in first place and everyone was so excited about different things that were happening with your team, and then reality hits and we're only on the 6th day of May. And there are teams that are already falling to where they were going to be, where they were projected to be. The Marlins will have to make a business decision. Bruce Sherman will have to speak to his investors and say, is it worth to keep Sandy in order to get better players in return? When we are deciding that, we have on our board, and Coca, we had a board that it was a huge, huge whiteboard, and we had several of them in both the GM's office and AGM's office. And on that board were several things: our depth, our minor league players, our prospects, etc. But we also had lists of players on other teams that we wanted all through their system. We had scouts scouting the minor league system for all the teams, and we would then compile lists of trades that we would do. And it would help inform what the GM would do when you're trying to trade Sandy. Who are you calling? How are you calling? And what are you asking for? it basically does what I liked, which is takes the emotion out of it. And the emotion comes when the owner calls after you get a pitcher who is rocked again and saying, trade him, get him moved right now. You then get to say to the owner, hey, this is what we expected to get back. If we trade him now, this is what we're going to get. And the delta between it is what you're giving up by trading him at the low. You see, it doesn't take a genius to buy high and sell low. That's pretty much what everybody does. The geniuses are the ones who buy low and sell high. When you ask why people prefer the Tampa Bay Rays as one of the best run organizations or the Cleveland Guardians as one of the best run organizations, why are you saying that? Because they're willing to sell high. They're willing to trade players a year too early and not a year too late. A concept that I was never able to fully communicate internally, but a concept that mattered. And if you think about it, think about what the Brewers do. When Matt Arnold, the great GM over in Milwaukee, president of baseball operations, finding a way to compete year in and year out, trading players at the high consistently. When the Brewers traded Devin Williams to the Yankees in the post Juan Soto, I'm going to be a Met. Let's sign Goldschmidt. Let's trade for Devin Williams and let's get Max Fried here. Let's get everyone to forget about Soto. Devin Williams came in. That guy had them change George Steinbrenner's beard policy, for crying out loud. Devin Williams comes in as a lights-out eighth-inning guy to Josh Hader with the Brewers, a lights-out closer once Josh Hader was traded and then signed to that huge deal. How's Josh Hader? How's that team doing? Devin Williams leaves the Brewers, goes to the Yankees, and Devin Williams has become Jordan Montgomery. He positively stinks. And we told you that when you're taken out of the closer's role, you are put in low leverage situations. You have a few good outings, and then you start getting put in higher leverage situations and eventually become the closer again. It's right in the playbook. Devin Williams was put in a game last night after having 3 straight good outings. He was put back in a relatively high leverage situation with the Yankees in a saved situation up 3-0 in the 8th inning. This is an opportunity to get Devin Williams in the game, not as the closer, but in a closing situation. Devin Williams was terrible. He ends up being a part of giving up 4 runs in the 8th, and the Yankees lost to the Padres 4-3. And the reason why this matters so much is that if they can't pitch Devin Williams up 3-0 in the 8th, he's become a middle reliever. He's become a low leverage. You cannot put him back out there. But if you don't put him back out there, his confidence is ruined. If you do put him back out there and he blows it again, you're looking at Heath frickin' Bell. If you know, you know. So the Yankees are in a position where they make a trade and you think you're getting an asset and it turns out you're not. This business is hard.